This is I believe it's a 1981 Yamaha G1 golf cart that it originally came with a single cylinder 2-stroke engine, and the engine has failed, and I replaced the engine with a 16 horsepower 4-stroke Duromax engine. Okay, what I did to mount this engine in here is obviously I removed the old engine. I removed the fuel tank, the battery, the majority of the wiring, and the solenoids, because none of that stuff applies to this engine. Like I said, this is a 16 horsepower, obviously horizontal shaft, single cylinder 4-stroke engine. It's got electric start, which I don't have hooked up yet. I have used it with the jump box, but I've got a battery for it. But it's got electric start, and I bought the clutch off of eBay for 80 bucks. I did some research on a forum looking for information on how to fit this engine into one of these carts to make it work, and the guys on there said that the Comet 40 series clutch was the one to use on this. Well, it fit the engine, but I ran into a problem because it didn't fit the belt. It seems like the 40 series clutch uses a 7/8 width belt, and the original driven clutch uses a wider belt. I think it's like an inch and 3/8, or don't quote me on that, it's wider, but I've got the other belt over here. To fit the engine in here, I just tipped the golf cart up on its side, and I welded a piece of 1/4-inch plate steel to the bottom, and then I set the engine in there and got the belt to what I thought was straight. It's a little bit off. I'm going to have to make some adjustments, but I marked the holes, drilled them out, bolted the engine down. It's completely self-contained. It's got its own fuel tank. Everything is here. I mean, there's nothing else that could really go wrong with this. I plan on moving the key up here so that you don't have to open the seat every time you want to run the cart. And I also want to extend the battery cables and hook up the original. I had a Motorcraft car battery in here, so the original belt I used was this one right here. It's a Dayco HP2028, and the problem I ran into is with this small of a clutch on here, it was constantly catching this belt even at idle, and the cart wanted to move. I couldn't get it to hold still. This belt does work right for the driven clutch, and with this belt on the cart, it produced a tremendous. I mean, we never ran it with the GPS, but it had to be all of 20 miles an hour with this belt on it. This is a 7/8 inch belt. It's a little bit big for this, but it does idle now. I'll start it for you here in a bit, but it does idle. The problem is, you can see back here, the belt is already dropped down an inch into this driven clutch, and you really want the belt sitting up on top. And looking at the driven clutch, I mean, there's my old snowmobile clutches. I used to be able to pull them apart and pull shims out of them to bring them together, but this one's just about all the way together. So I don't know the remedy for this problem other than to possibly take this clutch off right here and use the original clutch. The problem with that is the original clutch, the original shaft on the engine's tapered, so I couldn't use that clutch on here. I'm told that you can buy an adapter that'll make it so that you can use the original clutch, and I think the original clutch and the wider belt would be the solution to the problem. But as it is right now, I lose a little bit of top end speed because of this rear driven pulley, but this golf cart is a beast. I mean, it literally it'll spin the tires with 2 adults on it. It'll squeal the tires on concrete. It's actually quite impressive. We sacrificed reverse. We don't have reverse. This cart had the 2-stroke motor in it, and for the 2-stroke motors, when you put the key in reverse and step on the pedal, the starter generator would actually start the 2-stroke engine in reverse, and that's how the carts would back up. So that was one of the sacrifices we made, but it's well worth it. The amount of power that this engine has is well worth it. And again, this is called a Duromax, D-U-R-O-M-A-X, not to be confused with the Dirty Max. 16 horsepower. They sell for around $300 online. I want to say I found this one. I want to say it was about $270, maybe, if I remember right. Electric start, everything. I've been starting with the pull start and it starts just fine. But I'm going to move the camera over to the other side here and I'll turn it back on and you guys can get a video of it running. But pretty satisfied with it so far. The kids love it. The adults love it. It's a lot of fun. A little bit louder than the other one. I haven't had any heat issues. I did see some of the guys online were running into heat issues. One of the things I had to do to make this engine fit was to weld that plate to the bottom side, because when it was on with the original engine cradle in here, it sat too high and it put the exhaust real close to the underside of the seat, as well as the valve on top, the fuel tank and everything. So by moving that down to the bottom, it dropped the motor down a couple inches, and I think that's the solution to the problem. So like I said, the only thing left to work out is the clutching, which the way it is now is fine, but if you wanted to go faster, it would be ideal to find, if I don't know if it's a 4040 or 44 series clutch or what, but to find a wider primary clutch that would allow the wider belt, the thicker belt that fits this clutch right, because then you'll still have the takeoff, but yet you'll have even more top end speed. But the way it is right now, it's definitely rideable. The kids have been riding it around. Well, they rode it all day today, and the adults rode it too. So I'm going to move the camera to the other side here, and I'll get a video of it in action. One more thing I wanted to point out. One of the problems we had was trying to figure out the throttle on this. And this is the throttle. It comes set from the factory with that nut back there so tight that you can just set it wherever and it stays there. Well, that didn't work for us, obviously. I loosened that up. Originally, I took this cover off, and there's a bracket in there that actually worked out with the old throttle cable I put on right there. I don't know if you could see that. And I hooked it up to there. The problem was we weren't getting full throttle with it. It was just enough to engage the clutch, and it just wasn't enough. I did see one other video online where a fella put a Predator motor, which is I think it's a 13 horse, a little bit smaller than this one. So I kind of copied his idea, and what he did was he hooked his throttle right up to the if you can see that right there, this little lever right here is hooked to the governor, the arm on the governor, and then the other side of it's hooked up to the carburetor, and there's a spring on there. I simply hooked up to that, and I drilled a hole. Well, I didn't drill it. I put a self-tapping screw in the hole right there, bent that bracket. This is the original bracket off the other engine, the G1 engine, so that it would accept the stock throttle cable. It's even got a little bit of adjustment there, as you can see the threads. And then I had to pull that screw back out and cut about half of it off because it was hitting something inside there. It was too long. Put it back in, problem solved. So the throttle works right off the pedal. Like I said, I have plans to move the key up to the dash, but for now, it works right here. The electric start works great. It starts just fine with the pull start, but it'll be nice once the battery's back in and I move the key up to the dash, so that we don't have to open the hood to start it. The one other thing is the choke. The choke is right here, and I've retained the original choke cable, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the throttles. I'm going to hook the choke up so that we can operate the choke from the dashboard as well. So we won't have to open the seat except to add fuel and check the oil and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and set you up here, and I'll start it up and take a video of it accelerating out of the garage. I think you'll be impressed. Okay, keys on, choke is on.